Hi, and welcome to the Empowered Eczema podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Mills, otherwise known as the Eczema Coach. And today we have a very special guest. We have Kristen from Gently Soap. How you doing today?
I'm doing so well. I'm happy to be here with you. Always happy to talk to you.
I am so curious as to what your eczema journey is. So if we can start from like you being a little kid, you have eczema. What's that story like that's now got you to some really amazing things in your business
Oh my
that
gosh.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about later.
Yes. Okay. So, oh my gosh. I am an eczema warrior from birth. So I was born, and a lot of this, like early years, is going to be like my mom's retelling to me of my story because I was too young to remember what was going on. But I I was a premature baby and I had a lot of complications, eczema being probably one of the highest ones of those. And I had it all over my body, like back of my legs, like all the crevices, like in between my arm folds, like all the things, my chest, my neck, but also scalp eczema. And it was, I remember like times in my like early childhood of like people saying things at like elementary school and grade school and stuff like that, which is not fun because as a child, I don't think I even really understood what I had. I just knew that we were like always in and out of the doctor's office, always going to the dermatologist and always putting on like creams and like the white cream. I remember like the little tubes that I used to come in and of course like Cetaphil and all the things that like they would like throw at me and prescribe to me. And I specifically remember this because I used to get braids in my hair when I was like really younger, and my scalp eczema eventually got to a point where it was so bad where my hair follicles started falling out. Because also as a child, telling a child to stop itching is like crazy. Like a child's gonna do whatever they want to do. So I remember waking up and like just itching so much and itching my scalp so much and it being like bleeding and open and just like a whole mess. Um, but I remember the hair thing so much because I used to love wearing like barrettes and bows and all these different things. And it like I had like big bald spots, big bald patches like in my head. So my mom would she would strategically place bows like in my hair to like cover up the bald patches that way people wouldn't like see them. So I became known as like the girl with like flowers in her hair and little bow clips in her hair. Like literally, I think every single photo of me from like fourth grade to like ninth grade, I had like a flower like in the side of my hair, like a big Justice Claire's bow in the back of my head. And I was always wearing like little ponytails and a side swoop. And the reasoning behind that was because my hair was, I had little bald patches and like sensitivity from where my hair had fallen out because of my scalp eczema. And as I got older, my mom was like really worried about bullying because I was bullied a lot and she was scared that like my skin was a huge part of that because people are really cruel and then skin is like the first thing that they see. So she did what most moms would do and went to the doctors for a solution, and they just prescribed me steroids. So I was on steroids from like I was 8 years old, and I think I was on them until I was like 17 or 18. And for the majority of that, it was like manageable. So like the steroids kind of put everything at bay to a sense of um I didn't think about it. Like it wasn't at the forefront of my life. And then I went through high school, didn't have a lot of like eczema complications, but still was dealing with like really flaky scalp, dandruff, all the things. And then also just like teenage acne. But I remember it being like I went to college and I was tired of paying for all the creams and all the things. And I was like, I'm an adult. I'm on my own. Like, I don't want to have to go to Kaiser all the time and like go to the doctor's appointments. So I was just like, I wonder if my eczema is gone. I'm just gonna like get off of everything. And I I went cold turkey, Michelle, like completely stopped everything. I was like, at this point, I'm like 19, 20, and I was completely stopping everything. And when I tell you the TSW hit, it hit. Like I went from thinking, oh, I have no eczema anymore, to being like overnight, like flaky skin again, like itching in my like dorm room bed. And I felt really alone in that moment because I was also like distanced from my parents. And I also knew that I didn't want to go back. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And it just so happened that also, we're dealing like it's the late 2010. So you're dealing with the rise of everything that's like organic, natural, like all these different products being thrown at you, right? So I remember going to the farmers markets and trying all these different natural soaps that people were like, "Oh, this is gonna help with your eczema and all this kind of stuff." And it burned, like everything burned. So I'm like, the chemical soaps, like the fragrance-free white chemical bars that they give you at the dermatologist office and tell you to only use these brands, were burning, and they were like not fun. And I'm like, I don't want to use these because I was a girly girl and I like wanted to smell good and all the things. And then when I would go to farmers markets and pick up other people's stuff, it also would be like a burning thing. And I was like trying to find my set of things to like live naturally with my eczema. So I remember I started quitting dairy, which was hard because I was a big ice cream girl. Also love cereal, but almond milk became my thing. And then oat milk came a little bit later. Like I feel like almond milk was like first and like soy milk, and then oat milk was like a little bit later. Um, and then I also like limited citrus because I realized that like orange juice and stuff like that would make my skin flare up. And then also like I was also the good girl. Like I didn't drink alcohol or anything until I was of age, and now I still don't drink alcohol because after I was legal, I realized it was a flare up thing. So, all of that, and then also limited my gluten. So I started switching over to like I guess like refined breads or something. I don't know what the term is for it, but it's like when you switch over to like whole wheat and it was like Einstein or something like, and then like the things that are supposed to be like better than just like white breads and stuff like that. So did that. And I started seeing like little changes. Like I was like mixing and matching a bunch of stuff for a really long time, but I still couldn't get over the fact that like my day-to-day care, like my personal care was like not fun, and like also very much like a time where I started hating showering because like of all the open sores and like flaky skin and all this stuff. And I was like, I feel like this could be better. So I was like, I can't use anything that's being offered to me. I'm just gonna start making my own soap. And I started making my own soap when I was 20 years old. And it was literally just like Googled it on YouTube, like DIY skincare and DIY soap making, and started learning how to do it, and then bought my own like raw oils and raw shea butters and stuff like that, and started doing it. And I was like, done with fragrance, done with essential oils. Like that's how this thing started. And I was just making it for myself. And then I started shipping some to like my parents and my sister and whatever, and they started getting on it. But I had no intention of it like actually becoming a thing. But I started posting about it while we were in quarantine, and it kind of just took its own life from there. But yeah, so that's my long eczema story. Today, I am living naturally. I would say probably about like 6 to 9 months after like stopping steroids, I actually started seeing like increased like oh my gosh, some of my pictures from quarantine, that was
Oh.
a and like but the thing is too, I was kind of happy when I decided to do it in like early 2020 because then school shut down and we went into quarantine and I could go through all the ugly phases while I was in the house. But all of my pictures of myself in quarantine, I'm like, girl, who was that? Like the skin was so bad. But it was really just like my body kind of like getting used to its new reality. Um, so now I am still an eczema warrior, but living naturally. And I think I'm looking good. I mean,
Yeah,
I still
you
go
look
through
great.
thanks. I still go through phases where I'm like, oh, that's flaky, like what's going on there? And then also I used to have really oily skin when I was younger, and my complete like composition of my skin has changed since I've gone through this. And now I'm like, I have dry skin. What is that? Um, so all these different things. But um yeah, living naturally has kind of like saved my life, and it also has given me like a new passion to like infuse into like my own brand, which is insane, and it gets me to meet people like you, which is so cool. So yeah.
I think it's so inspiring that you took the leap to willingly go through topical steroid withdrawal.
Mhm.
And it's a really hard decision to make because, especially if you start looking online, it could be
Oh
very
yeah.
scary looking and, a lot of apprehension there. And with years and years of use, I'm sure you were like, what am I getting myself into here with that?
Yeah, well, it's like also, I don't think there was a word for it. I just knew that like I didn't want to pay for steroids and I wanted to like stop using them or stop being dependent on them. I don't think topical steroid withdrawal even became like a key term until like maybe in the last like 3 years.
Yep.
And then once I started seeing the videos on TikTok, I'm like, that's what I went through. Oh my gosh. I was like, I thought my eczema was just all of a sudden like, we're back. We're like, you took the band-aid off, which is like I refer to steroids as like this band-aid over the real issue. And then all of a sudden your skin's like, ha ha ha, joke's on you. And I didn't know what it was. I just knew that like my skin was all of a sudden flaky again. And I was going through like all the pains that I like remembered from my early childhood. But I'm glad that there's now like a term for people to like find community in and then like be able to like Google things and like go to like Itsan or whatever and be like, oh, I'm not alone. So yeah.
And you fought through that and you fought through it naturally. And to see you today being at such a good place, it's inspiring and it's beautiful. And it's like, oh my God, it's like there is light at the end of the tunnel. Like I always kind of tell people when you're going through TSW or, if you're coming off of any other medications, you kind of hit this peak and then you
Mm-hmm.
go down. If you could just make it over the hill, you're
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
You can get to that point and it's beautiful. And so I think it's actually so cool too to hear your story of you just started like DIY soaps. How do I even make a soap?
Yeah.
Like that's how you started of this whole thing. It's just like pure curiosity and like there's so much strength and a lot of independence that I hear in your story, which I think so inspiring. And so, okay, so now you're sending it to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
You posted online, it kind of blew up, and people are like, I need this soap. Kind of tell me how it progressed from that point.
Yeah, so the thing that like also I come from an agricultural family and I'm a plant scientist. So I've always been interested in eczema. I remember like I was in like this honors research program at my school UGA and I like pitched like I want to study plants and eczema because I've just always been interested in like eczema because it had impacted so much of my life going through like middle, high school, grade school. So I also had that knowledge that I was like infusing into my soaps too. And I think a lot of it was like people were willing to I had also like posted a lot about me being in greenhouses and the research I was working on. And the research was like not to like found a brand, but it ended up like informing a lot of what I did when I was choosing to make the soaps and like what herbs I used because I had studied them, I had grew them. Um, and I think like coming at it from that angle because people knew I had worked on like this stuff and then I was all of a sudden making soap. I think people were like putting the two together and be like, oh, she knows what she's talking about, which was cool. Um, and I had no idea what like a business was. I didn't think that that was like even an opportunity. I thought it was like I'm just gonna make soap and then like give it to family members and whatever. But I remember people started like in my church community, my family community, like started asking to buy it. And then people, it became like so overwhelming that I just like started a Shopify site and put up everything that I had made in like the last couple of months of quarantine. And like within 2 hours, it sold out. And I didn't have no like framework of cost economics or unit economics and stuff like that. So I was just like pricing them at like $2 a bar and like not making money and didn't even charge for shipping. So didn't have any shipping materials. Like I remember like going to Office Depot after and being like, I need boxes and stuff. Like, where do I even get this? Like I truly was learning everything like as it was happening to me. Like I would do something and I'd be like, "Oop, did that wrong." Readjust, like get it right. Um, so I had no framework about entrepreneurship or business. Didn't even think I was an entrepreneur, to be honest. Still kind of struggle with that. But I was just like, this is cool. And then I was like locally delivering because I didn't pay for like didn't know how to even like drop things off at a store to ship it. And I went on like that for like maybe a couple months. And then I came back to UJ's campus when the school started and like went to the entrepreneurship program and was like, I accidentally started a business in quarantine. And then they helped me structure it to be like, here's your value proposition. Here's like your mission and vision statement. Like, here's a business plan. And like, they actually breathe like life into like this framework of an idea that I had. And that's when it really started to like get its like foundation and bones and started to look like what Gently is today. And then they were like, you should apply to farmers markets. So I started going to farmers markets and was doing that consistently all through college. Farmers markets on Wednesdays, farmers markets on the weekends, local deliveries around Athens. And it was really fun. And then I would do like collegiate pitch competitions, win some money, could buy more stuff, make more soap. And it was like making soap all the time, selling soap like on the weekends. And it became like my new life for like my junior and senior year. And then I went to grad school and was struggling because grad school is very way more demanding than undergrad, trying to like fill that out. And then as I started making my way through grad school, my parents started looking at me like, what are you going to do when you graduate? And that's when the conversation of like, I felt like I was being really like, I felt really passionate about Gently. And I really wanted to chase that, but they were like, go get a real job. Like, what are you doing? So I knew I needed something to like convince them that it was a larger idea. And that's when I was talking to my one of my like entrepreneurship professors about it. And I was like, I have this idea. And like, he's seen me, like, he's like, you should just go on Shark Tank. Because I was like, I really need to convince my parents. And he's like, what's the best way to convince your parents than to go on Shark Tank? So in like like February 2023, I applied. May 2023, I heard back. By June 2023, I was filming. And this was like all lining up to when I was supposed to graduate. So I was like, this is great. And then by September 2023, it aired. And then like I literally had like less than like $100,000 in sales. And then, or maybe like 110. I don't remember anymore. But like it aired and then it was like catapulted like overnight from like me doing like two orders, like not even really understanding an online store to like becoming a full like e-commerce like business. People know like me, they've seen me on national television. They're like, I was getting people's eczema stories sent to me through email and DM, and I was like, oh my god, this is
Oh,
amazing. And like just talking about it on a national stage about like the realities of living with eczema, the realities of dealing with it, the realities of not wanting to settle for chemical like band-aids for eczema. I think like really resonated with a lot of people, and that's really what catapulted that too, because so many of people were like, I just want to support you because I relate. And that was a huge thing. So like Shark Tank changed the trajectory of my life, my business, allowed me to pursue this full time. And within like from the day it aired to like today, like we've done $1 million in sales. And now I'm like, that's insane. So now I have to like figure out like what my new dreams are for the company, because I literally was just like, if I can get like 5 people to buy my soap every weekend, that's great. And now it's like people are asking me like, so what are you gonna do from get to 1 to 10 million? I'm like, girl, like 6 months ago, I didn't even think that was possible, you know? So um it's really cool. Like it's really cool because it's doesn't feel like I'm running a company. It just feels like I'm running this like community organization that like also has products attached to it, which feels really weird. And I'm just always looking for ways in which to like give back, to create new dreams, to connect with more people like you, and like make a larger conversation around living with eczema in a gentle and natural way. So like live gently is like the term that we say, because it's not about like trying to sell people cures or whatever, or like counterfeit cures is what I always say. It's all about like trying to like promote this gentle holistic lifestyle, which is a combination of a whole bunch of things, but Gently is just like there to kind of help you through that like journey, whether you're in a good flare up, I mean like minimal flare up, like good portion of your life, or you're like in the trenches, like in the pit, like the pit of the valley that you were talking about, like just trying to figure it out. It's like that product that I just want to lean on through all of my wellness routines. So yeah.
first off, congratulations. Now,
Thanks.
for those listening, this $1 million mark is a
Yeah,
huge milestone, and she just announced it on social media. And
I
I was in the
did.
background, like, so huge congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Your journey of all of it is truly an inspiration. Like from going through TSW, fighting through that, to then even having the bravery to go to the entrepreneurship department, then having the bravery to listen to the professor and get on Shark Tank, then have the bravery to do Shark Tank. And if I'm not mistaken, you went on twice, is that right?
So it air has I went on once, but it has aired three times, or two other times, like besides the premiere, which is like cool because I needed a redo after that first time because I was not ready. I was not prepared. Like I think what people don't like, we were really like small. When I say like really small, like it was just me packing orders. Like didn't have a headquarters, didn't even have like a bunch of inventory stocked up in a room anywhere. So it took a lot of time to adjust. Like I would say the like 4 months after the first premiere on September 29th, 2023, like I was adjusting to this new like reality of like people want this product. And that took a long time. So when it came back around in February for like Super Bowl weekend, I was ready then. I was like, yes, I needed this for like my own thing because I was beating myself up by how badly like we weren't prepared. But I tried to like find like comfort in the fact that like you cannot prepare for like any type of viral moment. So yeah.
I think this tells the audience so much about bravery and faith. And I think that's a beautiful story because having so much bravery to you didn't even have a vision for the other side for some of this, right? Like the
No.
company didn't have a vision for the other side, but your health did. And you had this vision of like where you needed and wanted to be. And I feel like I feel so similar to that where years ago when I was in the trenches and I had eczema all over me, I had this vision and my mindset was like I actually had someone talk to me about this. They're like, I was watching this old video of yours and you, like, I was filming myself transforming. And somewhere in it, I said, I know that I can heal and I'm going to do it. Like, I had made this bold statement of what I was capable of. And in 3 months, my eczema, like, transformed so quickly. And in a year, I was in such a better place. And I created this vision for myself. And I think it's for those listening who are dealing with so much fear around so many different things, whether, someone's an entrepreneur or whether they are somebody who with eczema and they want to get to that other side. It's like having this unrelenting bravery, vision, and the ability to keep going forward. And
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. And it's such a great example of what somebody's capable of doing. And I love that.
No, well, thank you. I mean, I think like there's so much in there that you said about, but like one thing that stuck out to me is like the mindfulness of like you being like, this is what I'm doing, and like that's my goal, and like putting that out there to like just hear yourself every single day. Like if like it's kind of like when people say like affirmations and all those kinds of things. Like I felt like you were like in the affirmation of healing, which is so cool to me. And I have to do that a lot, like running a company, but like also like healing like my gut and everything. Like I'm still dealing with gut issues, which you talk about all the time. But that's why I love watching your content because I'm like, yes, I am dealing with that. Um, but yeah, like I guess like voicing, being vocal about what you want to achieve, and also like creating little things every single day to get there is really important.
So if you had one piece of advice for somebody listening, I know just one is tough, but what's your like number one piece of advice? So someone has eczema or TSW and they feel just so heavy and life is hard and it's just so difficult. What's that one piece of advice that you want to give to people listening?
Mm. Like the first thing that comes to mind for me is to document the journey. Like I think eczema journals are so important. And I remember when I was like 20 years old, I was in quarantine and I was trying to figure out what made me flare up and what didn't. I kind of failed poorly at trying to document, or like I would forget what I had eaten and then not be able to like backtrack. So writing every single thing down, I'm literally doing that right now because I've been having like gluten issues, and I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from because I have seen my eczema flare up in the behind my ears, and I'm like, what's going on? So I've been like literally writing like texts to my friend like every single day, like this is what I'm eating, this is what I mean, just so I have record of it somewhere. Um, and that helps so much because it's really hard like on your own to like figure out how all these things are connected. But then I was literally like, okay, I had Mexican this day, then I had a Chipotle bowl the next day, and I'm like, well, maybe something about that's connected. But like unless you list it all out, it's really hard to like get your board like your bird's eye like point of view and like see from like a bigger picture because you're so like into the day to day of like I'm in struggle, like this is hurting, like I'm in pain. Um, but like if you look past, like if you have something to flip back through and be like, wait, okay. So I don't know if you have an eczema journal. I feel like you do, or something of that framework. But like, I don't know, rate yourself on like 1 to 10 before you go to bed. Like, how bad was today? Right? Like every single thing that you've eaten, like anything that you put in your mouth, like how, like where the flare up is coming from. Is it behind your ears? Is it like worse in your arms? Like all of that matters because it helps you create like a better framework to like discuss with a doctor or discuss with like an eczema coach or discuss with like any like holistic um naturopathic medicine that you're talking to just like figure it out because everyone is different, and that's what my love hate relationship with eczema is because like so many people get on like Instagram and TikTok and whatever and be like, this worked for me. And I hate content creators sometimes because of that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, literally every single person is different. And like a product that works for you, like might not work for everybody, like gently could work really well for you. Or like one of our soaps could work really well for you. And then another one doesn't. But that's the point. Like you're supposed to have like authority and choice and be able to make the best decisions for your wellness routine. And like that's all we're all trying to do is really trying to figure out things for like it sucks to be in pain and it sucks to like see someone that you love also in pain if you're like trying to help as like a mother or a grandmother or a parent of the child, like constantly monitoring, constantly being mindful of what activities you're doing. Like, did you run longer? Like, did you not shower immediately after taking that run? Like, is there sweat still on your body? Like, write down as many things as you can so that way you can make the right choices for your healing journey.
We're so aligned in that. You have no idea. That's like my number one tool when I work with my clients. Like I ask them all of those questions. Like we have to put the pieces together. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually have a free printable eczema tracker that I'll link down below.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
exactly.
Good to know.
And it is right. Like you're 100% spot on with that. That's what I did with my skin. I had to track everything. I had to see the patterns. And when you can see the patterns, you can listen to your body so much better. You can actually see, like, it was the run yesterday. All that it
Mm-hmm.
actually really stressed out and it did this and this and this. And every time I do that, that happens. And you have that history and you have that documentation. So I agree 100%. And we're going to wrap the podcast up here. And I'll put your bio down below. So if anybody's interested in Gently Soaps or hearing more about her, we're going to just put everything in the description for you. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, just thank you guys for like listening. Thank you for, well, Michelle, thank you for having me here. But also just like I am so empowered to be in like this eczema community. I think it's one of the best communities that I've been able to be a part of throughout my life. And I mean, eczema is really difficult to deal with. But it makes me like tear up because it's just like I'm so happy that like now, because I don't think this has always been around the way it is, but I feel like now, like so many people are finding community in the fact that like we're all living with this new lifetime companion, which is our like itchy skin. And I don't know. I guess I'm thankful for having eczema. Is that
Yeah,
odd to
I
say?
am too. To be honest with you, I am too.
Yeah, because it brings me to like things like this and people like you. So, yeah, of
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Kristen.
course, of course. Bye,
And thanks for
guys.
listening. Bye bye.